how good this C63 Coupé is. Hey guys, welcome back to RBR, and today we're doing a review of one of your favorite AMG models that's now been facelifted, and it is the brand new GLC63 S. This time we're looking at the SUV form factor. So the last time we reviewed the GLC63 S, we found it to be a C63 on stilts. Serious performance, and something that you could actually call a performance car even though it was an SUV sized car. But now the car has been updated. And that previous car wasn't exactly perfect in every single area. In fact, if anything, it was a bit of the poor cousin to the then facelifted C63 S. Now the GLC is back. And first of all, let's have a look how the design has evolved from the pre-facelift. Now the pre-facelift was one of the best looking AMGs and one of the best looking SUVs generally in the world anyway. So it's a bit of a nip and tuck design. So even if we look at the standard car, you can see that the grille at the front has widened. It's definitely a bit softer, but the effect on the AMG version is completely different. Instead of having a C63 shaped grille, now we've got one that's a lot wider. You've got more bars on the Panamericana grille, as it used to be called, and it generally just looks a lot more aggressive. The lower part of the air intakes, etc., are still the same, but now the light design is completely different as well. So unlike the C63, which didn't get really any difference in light design, this one is looking very distinctive now. I really like the highlight of the two light beams inside here. These look really good, especially at night. Then if we shift to the rear, if we look at the standard one first, you will see that the light design has been updated. In pictures, it looks pretty horrific, but in person, I can't really explain to you guys how good it actually does look. The effect you get is a much darker and a singular kind of red bulb in there, and when it lights up again at night, it does look very impressive. I was one of the kind of detractors of the look of that, but I think you need to see it in person to appreciate it. Come to the AMG version, you've got a whole new rear diffuser as well. There's extra trim elements in there as well, and it just looks a lot more aggressive. But the best bit on the AMG has to be the larger exhaust, especially, please, just don't get night pack just because you like dechroming things. You need to look at how good these chrome one looks, because they look absolutely stunning in their larger style. Now again, the rear, the Coupé, it looks fantastic, especially with the new lights on the rear. As you can see here, the huge wing that you get on the Coupé as well is absolutely stunning. I still think it's the better of the two. Personally, I'm a Coupé man, you guys know that. But equally, if you look at something hideous like the X4M, this is definitely the best looking SUV Coupé on the market, in my opinion. Spec-wise, you get these lovely new multi-spoke 21-inch AMG wheels, which on the SUV I think look absolutely fantastic. You can get them in matte black finish as well. To me, this is the spec to have, I think. But unfortunately, once again, these wheels aren't available in the UK. Why MBUK? Why do you hate us? We're such a big market. In terms of technical changes, there's not a lot. So you still got the same 510 brake horsepower output. Every model now comes with an electronic slippy diff, which we're going to talk more about later. And you've got AMG Dynamics from the C63 S and the GT63 S. But I want to talk a little bit about the AMG model that hasn't been shown yet. You guys have been messaging me a lot about it because we thought it would come before this, and that is the facelifted GLC43. Well, I'm pleased to say that when we went to Affalterbach to see the new A45 four-cylinder engine, we saw quite a few mules of that car around. And indeed today here, we had confirmation that there is another AMG coming. And it basically looks something like this, exactly as you would expect, or maybe not, because it seems to have the AMG specific grille, just as the trend was started with the GLE53, the new one. So I think you're gonna see every single level of AMG now share that same face. What you feel about that is down to you guys. I think maybe it will work, I don't know. I wanna give it a chance. I wanna see it on more cars and see how the overall design language looks here. Whatever the small or big changes made, it's allowed the GLC63 S to reclaim the record of the fastest SUV on the Nürburgring. So it's taken away from the Stelvio Quadrifoglio, and it's only seconds behind a supercar that AMG made only a few years ago. But I'll tell you more about that when we go on the drive. Now outside, yeah, it's a bit of a nip and tuck design, but what I really want to show you is something that you cannot live without, and it's the area that the GLC63 S now thrashes the C63, and that is inside the car. Right guys, so inside the new GLC 63 S, this is where the car felt like the poor cousin to the then facelifted C63, because the GLC 63 came quite late by the time the C-Class was quite old. So it had the old interior where the facelift had the brand new one, so you were missing all the digital screens and stuff. So now of course you've got the full updated interior, you've got the 2 digital screens in front of you, especially the driver's own one. You've got the brand new AMG steering wheel in here as well, with the AMG drive control units, which are absolutely paramount, especially once you've got to use them. They're just sexual, I'm going to be honest with you. I love them, and you'll see me using them later on the drive. So all of that has been updated to bring the car along with the C63, but I said that this bloodied the C63's nose in this way, and it really does, because this has got MBUX. Now, frequent viewers of my channel will remember what MBUX is. It is the most advanced operating system that Mercedes have ever made in a car.
How may I help you?
As you can see, when I said Mercedes, it listened to what I was saying. And when you talk to it, it is a very natural way of talking. There is no script involved like old automated ones. I'm not going to go over the whole MBUX for the 100th time again, but for example, you could ask it to take you somewhere without any postcodes, any roads, nothing. All you need to say is, "Hey Mercedes,
how may I help you?
Take me to Frankfurt Airport."
I am starting route guidance to Frankfurt.
There you go.
Airport.
That is it. That's all I needed to do. I have no idea where Frankfurt Airport is. I don't know what the postal code or the zip code or the road or which district in Frankfurt it is. MBUX just did what I asked it to do. And it reduces the stress of living with a car because it's so brilliant. But it's not just that. GLC also gets the cameras up here, which you've seen in my other reviews again, and that will track whether it's the driver using the screen or the passenger using the screen. So if it's anything to do with seat comfort, if I'm pressing it, it'll adjust my seat. If the passenger is, it'll adjust their seat. Similarly, at night, if I've dropped something in the passenger well and lean over, this light will turn on knowing that it's the driver and help me look for stuff. So it's very clever. Specifically for the AMG version, you get this lovely new black nappa and yellow nappa interior with yellow stitching. It's absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, I really don't think we're going to get it in the UK because we never got it in the C63 S either. It's a shame because it's really sporting. I love the full dynamic wheel. Such a shame that there's still not an IWC watch there. I'm gonna have to put my one there instead. I love having that in the C63. I don't know why it isn't in the GLC. Now, one weird thing here, although this screen here, the main one, has all the MBUX type design, driver's own is very much like the C63, so you haven't got the one that you've got, say, in the A35 or the new GLE53. I'm not sure why that is, but it's a bit of a quirk in the system. It's like a mix and match between the two. Now guys, I want to show you what this car sounds like because it's very important with AMGs. So let's start the car straight away in Sport Plus. I'm going to give you some revs. As with all AMGs, remember you have to hold the paddle to get the louder start up, and then some sound. Still sounds amazing, but I want to talk more about the sound on the run. So let's take this car out now and let's see how the driving dynamics have improved in this car. .7 seconds on track pace. That was the first go, and it's already 0.1 second quicker than the official figures. That is ridiculous, guys. Quicker than the C63 S, quicker than the AMG GTS, and I'm sure it's quicker than my AMG GTR in daily use. It has to be, and it's replicatable. Guys, remember, there's 2 of us porkers in this car with a load of luggage. 3.7 seconds. Wow. And you'll want to do it again and again and again with this car. It's just so pleasurable to pick up speed in such an easy way. But unlike a lot of four-wheel drive systems that are very, very simple, this is 4MATIC Plus, like the E63, like the GT63, like the upcoming A45. Of course, that one is different. But what it basically means is completely variable power between front and rear. So most of the time, the car feels like a rear-wheel drive car because you can have all the power going to the rear when being more dynamic. It gives you grip, it gives you incredible power coming out of a corner with stability. It's just so fun. And when you've got these perfect roads here, oh my God, the roads. You could drive an A180 on these roads and be very, very happy indeed, but we have not got that. We have got an absolute monster. Now, I mentioned that the electronic slippy diff comes as standard on all cars. Now, you have to understand the effect that it has on a car like this. So what it does is it reduces the slip of the inner rear wheel coming into a corner, and it helps with heavy braking going into a corner as well. The effect of it all is you can shoot off much quicker out of a corner than a car that doesn't have that. Those two things paired together mean you really don't get any semblance of understeer. If anything, the car wants to oversteer. What an absolute animal. Is this a performance SUV? It just feels like a C63 on stilts. I still maintain, like I said in my first review, I think the car could use more power. I was hoping the facelift would have got a bump. It hasn't. Even 15 to 20 horsepower, I'm sure this car could easily manage. Don't get me wrong, it's still ludicrously fast, but it feels such a capable car. Sometimes you feel like it could go even faster. Now, I mentioned that the car has AMG Dynamics from the C63 update, from the GT63 S and all the new AMGs. And essentially what that does, it's a bit difficult to explain, but I think I've cracked it now. It increases that Jekyll and Hyde character, and it does it by changing various areas of the car, like the steering, the suspension, the way the car delivers power, either to be more comfortable or to be a lot more dynamic. AMG Dynamics goes all the way from basic to master. You've got different options. They are automatically assigned to like your comfort, sport, sport plus, race, etc. But you can pick them yourself. And the addition of that extra bit of dynamism is what allowed the GLC63 S to retake the crown from the Stelvio Quadrifoglio, with it now being the fastest SUV in the world. And driving it on these roads, you really see just how bloody capable this car is. But I'm more keen to see how AMG Dynamics has helped with the comfort element, because I did say in my pre-facelift review that it is a little bit harsh around town. I don't care, because when you got a car like this that handles like a bloody sports car, you got to give something to get something, and a bit of harshness on 21-inch wheels is more than acceptable. Speaking of handling like a sports car, this thing's lap time is mere seconds behind the SLS AMG, a supercar that AMG were building only a few years ago. That's insane. We have to take performance SUVs so much more seriously now because of this monster. This S model gets dynamic engine mounts, which you get in the C63 S, you get it in the AMG GTS, you get it in the new Porsche 992. Now, if you see my other reviews, you know that dynamic engine mounts help reduce vibrations, can make the car stiffer when you're driving faster, or more comfortable when you're driving slower. So when you're driving fast like this, the car's weight feels like it reduces. It's almost like an artificial way of managing a much larger car and a heavier car. And then we have to talk about the steering, or the absolutely epic steering, especially for a four-wheel drive car. AMG are just so good at getting good steering feel out of an electronic setup. It's right up there with Porsche and their 992. These two companies make the best electronic steering racks by far. It's just so much feedback coming through the wheel, especially when driving fast. The way that your confidence builds, thanks to the steering, thanks to the feedback you're getting. There's just very, very few cars, especially of this size and ilk. And that confidence is what allows you then to drive faster, get faster out the corner, attack a corner harder. Switch the car into comfort, with the exhaust on, of course. And it's just so easy to use daily. We went through a little bumpier town just now, and it felt pretty similar to my car before, pre-facelift, but I don't know, maybe a little bit better. Again, it could be the roads, I don't know. I really want to wait to drive one in the UK, then maybe I'll update you guys on Instagram. Now, sound. OPF filter is in this car. but it sounds really good, doesn't it? Yeah, sure, the volume of the pops and bangs has gone down, but like the E63, now we get more live noise coming into the cabin of the car. And before, when I said the pre-facelift in the cabin was quite quiet, it was just the bangs you were getting, this is a lot more enjoyable in the cabin of the car. This is how you deal with an OPF filter. There's just no one who has sorted out exhaust music like AMG has, especially in this post-noise and emissions and all of these issues that we're having with GPF and OPFs. AMG, they've just got it down. They are the best at exhaust sound, period. Listen to that. Just lightly coming off the throttle. Sounds great. Overall, I prefer the sound of this facelift, even though the actual bangs are a tiny bit quieter thanks to the filter. You get more inside the cabin and you can play it better. It's just a nicer sounding car. And this is how you do it. The new R8 Performance I drove recently will show you guys how that filter can really ruin a great engine, whereas AMG, they're the kings of this, aren't they? Now that being said, the question is, will the final cars actually sound like this? Because recently when I got my C63 S facelift, hoping it would sound like the car I drove at Bilsterberg in our first press drive, it just didn't. When I downshifted like this, there are no pops and bangs coming from that car at all. It's only on liftoff, and even revving and liftoff was limited to a few revs, so the final delivered car was very different to what I tested. Now, hopefully that's a mistake and we're trying to find out more. This car and every other car since, including the A35 that we had delivered recently, is completely fine. So I'm hoping that it's something that's going to get sorted out in the C63, because it's the same as this car. Same engine, same tune, same everything. It should sound as good as this one does. Before, when the first GLC63 came out, it came out too late and it felt like the poor cousin to the then recently facelifted C63 S. Now it's jumped ahead with a much updated design compared to the C63, and of course you've now got MBUX as well, which brings the game to a whole new level. It's the iPhone of car UIs, and you really miss it in any other car you use. I definitely miss it in my C63 S, and that factor alone makes this car a more enjoyable car for me to use daily. The sound, as I said, makes it more enjoyable to use. So the case really building for this as a car that's a viable daily alternative to the C63. And with AMG Dynamics, the best has now gotten better. How much better did AMG need to make the world's best SUV? Not that much, but they have anyway. And now the case has built for this to be a really viable alternative to their most iconic car. If you're looking for a daily AMG, this is the car to have. You will be smiling every day of every season. It's just such a good car. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly had so much fun in this car. So please do like, subscribe, share this video, and I'm gonna have loads more fun on these awesome Frankfurt roads. So I'll see you again next time.